Hi, I'm Kamila, and this is my MD6318 presentation for the assessment 001. I've always been a creative rather than technical person, and in the future I see myself in the composition or sound design field. And although I have a wide range of creative hobbies, one of my biggest passions is video games. Therefore, in my intended portfolio, I cannot miss a video game project. I have a range of interests in this field, from action and shooter games to the more mild adventure ones. Each genre requires a different approach in terms of composing and sound design, and it's definitely this kind of challenge that makes me excited. Composing has always been what I truly want to do and achieve in the future. Sound design came on my bucket list as well, but more recently. They each go by different paths, that's why I chose both of them, to show that I'm compatible in both composing and sound design, and I believe that it will be of huge help in the future, experience-wise. In my understanding, composing bit means creating a soundtrack for a game, for example, for boss scenes, or wandering around, storyline bits, etc. In the meantime, sound design means creating sounds for different gameplay aspects, such as walking, fighting, even breathing. They both have similar aspects because they are based on sound and game intentions and meanings, but at the same time have different approaches in the actual game. Composition must reflect the game's atmosphere, meaning should be historically relevant if that's the case in the game. The example of this could be Assassin's Creed soundtracks, etc. Sound design is mainly object-oriented. For example, all the shoes make different sounds on different surfaces, or the ambience of the area should be relevant as well. So one should research what animals make which sounds, is there wind, is the character near the ocean, etc. Both approaches excite me and I look forward to working on them in the future. As a gamer myself, I have developed a range of skills in the video game sound area through gaming experience. I have always listened to the soundtracks and tried to recognize sound design approaches. To develop my conscience around this area, I found that for me practical work works best, so in my free time I create my own compositions to various video game footages and gameplays. My independent compositions lay there on my hard drive while my perfectionist self dwells on the goodness of them. Most of my work is inspired by the Alice Madness Returns minimalistic soundtrack. One major project I created last year was for the module 5356 sound design and composition for moving image. That's when I realized video game sound was what interests me the most. For the assessment, I created my own composition for the Assassin's Creed Valhalla trailer. The reason why I'm mentioning it here is because I took a slightly different approach. Instead of creating a trailer piece of music, I thought what kind of music would suit the gameplay of this game best. It was based on my experience with playing the previous Assassin's Creed versions. And because the trailer came on at the time of making the assessment, there was no gameplay available. The Valhalla version wasn't released yet. I believe this piece of work acts as a good portfolio. even though it's just my own version of the existing project. For my own development, I have signed up for a few online courses about video game music composition and sound design. My gaming experience helped a lot with understanding the approaches taken to create music and sound for games, so I'm treating these courses as an additional element towards my growth. One big thing for me was to realize that composition for video games differs a lot from the one for other moving images like films or animation. I have also found a lot of useful tutorials on YouTube back in the day. They mainly helped me with music theory and composition approaches in general, rather than specifically video game ones, but they were still pretty useful. My hopes for the approach would be to work in Fmod, which is a sound effect engine and tool for video games. I took part in Fmod lectures and watched some other tutorials online, so I believe I'm already pretty skilled in this area. My expected framework would mainly focus on the client's needs in the collaboration. It's very important to ask specific questions related to the project. I don't expect my client to know anything about composing or sound design. I could propose my idea, mix it with theirs, ask for some inspirations from other existing games. With that, I want to achieve the knowledge of what to expect from the client, what to ask, what to propose. The project will not work without a clear communication and understanding. Considering the questioning I mentioned earlier, I also expect to send out a lot of emails with my composition demos to reach out to people of the gaming field. I'm in the process of making a portfolio of my own. It will consist of my compositions for the already existing games, as well as sound design, Foley, and my other music-related projects. So with this, I would love to gain some connections in the video game field. I also want to gain the knowledge of how to best approach creators and how to make them actually look into my work without me begging for it on my knees. When I find a project that I will be working on, after the questionnaire, I will make simple demos of the work and send them to my client for the desired feedback. I want to make myself familiar with the critiques and harsh comments, and don't take them into my heart, but rather into my workflow. To sum up, my goals are connected to my plans for the future in the video game sound field. I want to familiarize myself with the client-based workflow and all the steps that take me to the final product. Also, I would love to make some good connections in my area of interest and get to know people's mindsets when it comes to gaming music. Lastly, I want this portfolio to help me with learning how to be more professional rather than emotional in my workflow. I'm patiently waiting for the opportunity to meet with gaming students so I could make some lovely connections and look for interesting projects that I could be part of.